Well, I'll go ahead and stop with that. And I wanted to move along to Paul Allen's book. It's a brand new book. I saw him on TV as well, I believe on, it might have been Sunday Morning, which is a CBS News program. So I really recommend it as well. Paul Allen, his book Idea Man, it's published by Portfolio Penguin. I don't know if Paul Allen is the guy who started up Microsoft with Bill Gates. And for a while there, he was the number 2 richest man in the world. And because he's been spending his money, he owns a variety of things, including the Seattle Seahawks, and he owns, I believe, a hockey team. And so he owns the Seattle Sounders pro soccer team as well. But I thought this would be a good book too, because there's a little bit of looking back about 30 or so years ago when they did this, and most of the people use PCs that they're part of creating the rules of our world. And so I wanted to see what this guy had to say as well, if there would be anything that I could use. So this is right from chapter 1. It's called Opportunity by Paul Allen. As I walked toward Harvard Square on a December weekend afternoon in 1974, I had no inkling that my life was about to change. The weather was snowy and cold, and I was 21 years old and at loose ends. My girlfriend had left a few weeks earlier to return to our hometown of Seattle, 3,000 miles away. I was 3 semesters shy of graduation at Washington State University, where I had taken 2 breaks in the last 2 years. I had a dead-end job at Honeywell, a crummy apartment, and a '64 Chrysler New Yorker that was burning oil. Unless something came along by summer, I'd be going back myself to finish my degree. The one constant in my life those days was a Harvard undergraduate named Bill Gates, my partner in crime since we'd met at Lakeside School when he was in 8th grade and I was in 10th. Bill and I learned how to dissect computer code together. We'd started one failed business and worked side by side on professional programming jobs while still in our teens. It was Bill who had coaxed me to move to Massachusetts with a plan to quit school and join him at a tech firm. Then he reversed field to return to college. Like me, he seemed restless and ready to try something new. Bill and I kept casting about for a commercial project. We figured that we'd eventually write some software where we knew we had some talent. Over grinders or a pepperoni pie at the Harvard House of Pizza, we fantasized about our entrepreneurial future. One time I asked Bill, if everything went right, how big do you think our company could be? He said, I think we could get it up to 35 programmers. That sounded really ambitious to me. Since the dawn of integrated circuit technology in the 1950s, forward thinkers had envisioned ever more powerful and economical computers. In 1965, in a journal called Electronics, a young research physicist named Gordon Moore made that prediction specific. He asserted that the maximum number of transistors in an integrated circuit would double each year without raising the chip's cost. After co-founding Intel in 1968, Moore amended the rate of doubling to once every 2 years, still dramatic. Similar trends soon emerged in computer processing speed and disk storage capacity. It was a simple but profound observation that holds true to this day. Because of continual advances in chip technology, computers will keep getting markedly faster and cheaper. The momentum of Moore's law became more evident in 1969, a few months after I'd met Bill. I was 16 then, just learning to program on a mainframe computer. A Japanese company called Busicom asked Intel to design chips for a cheap handheld calculator that could undercut the competition. Busicom assumed that the new machine would require 12 integrated circuit chips. But Ted Hoff, one of Intel's electrical engineers, had a bold idea: to shave costs by consolidating the components of a fully functioning computer onto a single chip, what came to be called a microprocessor. Before these new chips arrived on the scene, it took dozens or hundreds of integrated circuits to perform one narrow function, from traffic lights to gas pumps to printer terminals. Microwavable oven-sized mini-computers, the machines that bridged mainframes, and the microcomputers yet to come, followed the same formula: one chip, one purpose. But Hoff's invention was far more versatile. As Gordon Moore noted, now we can make a single chip and sell it for several thousand different applications. In November 1971, Moore and Robert Noyce, the co-inventor of the integrated circuit, introduced the Intel 4004 microchip at a price of $200. The launch advertisement in Electronic News proclaimed a new era of integrated electronics. Few people took notice of the 4004 early on, but I was a college freshman that year and had time to read every magazine and journal around. It was a fertile period for computers, with new models coming out almost monthly. When I first came across the 4004, I reacted like an engineer. What cool things could you do with this? But at first glance, Intel's new chip looked like the core of a really nice calculator. But as I read on, I could see that it had all the digital circuitry of a true central processing unit, or CPU, the brains of any computing machine. The 4004 was no toy. Unlike application-specific integrated circuits, it could execute a program from external memory. Within the limits of its architecture, the world's first microprocessor was more or less a computer on a chip, just as the ad said. It was the first harbinger of the day when computers would be affordable for everyone. 4 months later, as I continued to follow the chips, I came across the inevitable next step. In March 1972, Electronics announced the Intel 8008. Its 8-bit architecture could handle far more complex problems than the 4004, and it addressed up to 16,000 bytes of memory, enough for a fair-sized program. The business world saw the 8008 as a low-budget controller for stoplights or conveyor belts. And in that vein, Bill and I would later use it in our fledgling enterprise in traffic flow analysis. But I knew that this second-generation microchip could do much more, given the chance. My really big ideas have all begun with a stage-setting development. In this case, the evolution of Intel's early microprocessor chips. Then I ask a few basic questions. Where is the leading edge of discovery headed? What should exist but doesn't yet? How can I create something to help meet the need? And who might be enlisted to join the crusade? Whenever I've had a moment of insight, it has come from combining two or more elements to galvanize a new technology and bring breakthrough applications to a potentially vast audience. A few months after the 8008 was announced, one of those brainwaves came to me. What if a microprocessor could run a high-level language, the essential tool for programming a general-purpose computer? Well, I'm going to stop at that point with Mr. Allen's book,